its articles of association when it is created as a business. And that means that it serves a mission and a purpose and has to very clearly. But a social enterprise does so for profit, meaning that it needs to make profit and then reinvest at least 50% of its profits back into the company. Though I imagine a lot of social enterprises, like a lot of charities, would reinvest quite a lot more back into that mission or purpose so that they can continue to do good work in this area. So, MoneyMind is a financial literacy social enterprise, which means that its mission or purpose is to help people develop more financial literacy skills. This is a live, wait, is this a live broadcast, Theo asks, or is it a live broadcast? I'm not quite sure of the difference between a live broadcast and a live broadcast, but I guess this is a live broadcast. It's one of those two, yes. So I'm here live broadcasting 3 days a week, and you can see me on Haps or YouTube or whatever channel you are on, Facebook as well. And you can leave comments from whatever platform you're on, and you'll see the comments that are from the platform that you are currently viewing from. So if someone sends a comment from Haps, you may not see that comment. So you'll hear me reading from the comments sometimes. Sometimes not if they're like super trolling, because I'll just be like laughing and then trying not to comment. But sometimes I will. Hi, Theo. Oh, thank you. Keith here says I sound like a professional YouTuber. Well, I have now been doing this since the 12th of March. So I'm definitely an expert by now. I've had like 5 whole days of doing it. But realistically, I did Periscope a lot in the past. And as I progressed on my journey, realized that this was a medium that I really enjoyed, and I like talking to people about this topic, and it was a really good way to talk about this particular area of financial literacy, because I felt like one of the reasons why I decided to start pursuing this mission of financial literacy advocacy was because not enough people are talking about it. And while I was periscoping a lot, okay, so this is a few years ago, I was periscoping, which is the now defunct live broadcast platform from Twitter, bought by Twitter and failed. Anyways, it's now Twitter Live. Now, when I was on Periscope, I was going through that very stressful phase of my husband founding a startup, and we had agreed on that, and we went into this journey not knowing what it was going to be like, and it was immensely stressful because startup life. And then I realized that despite having worked and been very fortunate in my work and very hardworking and very successful through my early 20s, I had reached the point where I was like, oh my gosh, I have all these gaps in my financial knowledge that going into startup life brought to the surface, because all my insecurities, suddenly the stress made me like see all of these gaps. Now, the gaps in my knowledge, I realized, are what needed to be smoothed over and fixed before I could progress further in my ambitions, money management, career, life in a stable way. So what I want for other people is to be able to do their money life in a stable, confident, and comfortable way. Because I realize that when the money foundation is unstable, when you get a little bit of stress, suddenly everything starts shaking. It's like a house built on sand, right? It cannot function long term, even if we think it's going to be fine for all of the good times. When you get a little bit of shake, when you get some financial crisis, when you get some political crisis, when you get other things that are happening, it suddenly becomes really shaky. And if you don't have your basic foundations in place, then it can really feel emotionally super, super stressful. So I went through that. And based on my experience, I created a little 5-pillar plan for my family based on being around a lot of finance people and having a lot of conversations and realizing that no one was giving me the answers that I wanted, looking online, no answers that I wanted. Everything seemed to be in like little pieces all over the place. Like you can budget or be really extreme, or you can have like fire lifestyle, or you could, but there was nothing that was like, here's like a really boring plan that you can just plug and play and then choose if you want to do something that's extreme from there. And so I created this little 5 pillar plan for myself that I call Money Mind's 5 pillars of financial stability. And they are money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. Once again, money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. Use this as a checklist. You got this 5 areas covered, then you're already going to be confident with your money in other areas. You're going to be confident about making investments. You're going to be confident, even if you don't feel like I'm the best investor in the world, you'll still be like, oh, okay, I'm comfortable knowing my own personal preference around this area. Okay, in each of these pillars. So that's what I built for my family's use. I applied it and got such good results in terms of seeing immediately where I could improve. Some areas were great, some areas were less great, some areas need constant work, and some areas like the wills, I can just do when it's done. So I decided then that I was still having these terrible conversations with people where people were stressed out. They were having their partners leave them. They had never managed their money. They were really insecure about something. The stock markets go down and people start freaking out and saying, should I sell everything? And it's like, no, when the stock markets go down, that's when you should buy everything. Hello. But all of this was occurring around me, and I realized that this 5 pillar plan might help somebody else. So this 5 pillar plan's been created in case it might help you, in case it might help someone you know, in case it might help someone somewhere. It's out there now at moneymind.global and is a financial literacy because this is a mission and a purpose. It's not built to like make me rich. It's not built to make anyone else like super billions of dollars. It's just built to make all of us more financially confident and secure and rich or wealthy in the ways that we are most comfortable with. That may not be $100 million that we have to spend a lot of time meeting lawyers and managing, okay? That may be just financially stable. That may be having enough to look after our life, our family, and travel really comfortably with a lot left over and plenty in our retirement. Wealthy will look different to all of us, and what I want to help people be able to do is just figure out what they want and how they're going to get there in terms of the basics of confidence. So, to today's topic, before you invest in crypto and NFTs, I feel like this is an area that I'm going to have a very unpopular opinion about, right? And I'm sure that either somebody, everyone, or nobody is going to be like, okay, Raven. But I feel like a lot of people get super FOMO in this area. Do you have FOMO about NFTs? Do you have FOMO about crypto? Are you like, oh my gosh, I've totally missed the bus. I could have been a Bitcoin millionaire. I could have blah, 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 blah. If you feel FOMO about these areas, it's an area to possibly consider learning about right now or dipping a little bit into, but not investing in my opinion. Now, total disclaimer, none of anything that I talk about on Money Mind or personally or otherwise is ever going to be advice. It's only based in my personal opinions and experiences. Even if I'm like, oh, do this or that, it's still my opinion and it's not advice. If you need advice, please get professional advice from a professional advisor. Education is what I am touting and sharing of information. I will be using like psychology in terms of neurohacks, behavioral neuroscience to make things easier to adopt in our life. But really, when it boils down to it, these are just opinions. And my opinion on this topic about before you invest in crypto or NFTs, know yourself and know that you are at least somewhat confident in your investing style. And I know that's going to be a very unpopular opinion because people are like, buy, 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 buy. And I totally do not subscribe to the FOMO, buy when everyone else is buying, you're going to miss out, do it now mentality. I don't think that that is a healthy way to invest, because the opposite of that, which also occurs, is sell now. Oh my gosh, everyone's freaking out. The markets are dying. We're all going to die. And neither of those do I believe in, which is why neither of those do I do or act on. I will watch them and I will say, okay, is this for me? Do I want to dabble in it? Does it make logical sense? Would I be interested in this area if other people were not as excited about it? So, what is my own opinion? What is my own awareness of my personality, my style, my risk profiling questionnaire? Now, if you don't know the answer to these questions, to what your style is as an investor, to what your risk profiling, like what your risk profile is, if you haven't done a risk profiling questionnaire, we cover all of this in moneymind.global in the free samplers. So you can go and check against the free samplers against these 5 pillars of money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy, and see if you are in fact confident in all these areas. Because you might do money mindsets and say, yeah, my money mindsets are totally sorted. Yeah, I'm super on savings. Yeah, okay, I budget. I know where all of my money is. Oh, I'm a bit nervous about investing. I don't really invest. I leave my money sitting there, depreciating in the bank, right? So you're losing money anyways. You're just not losing it in what you feel like is as risky a way as investing. And I know that that had a lot of very short words in it. So I'll just compare the two. Saving, you're losing, if you're just sitting on money in the bank, you are losing money at like whatever the inflation rate is, real depreciation. If you are investing, you are watching markets go up and down, and you may lose or win money, but in a way that seems a lot riskier. Here, you're definitely losing money, but in a comfortable, I'm bleeding slowly to death kind of way. Here, it's more of an adventure, and you may not be comfortable with that. So, a lot of people will choose not to invest, but lose money by having their money sitting in the bank. And a lot of people don't actually know that they're losing money. They just think my money's safe in the bank. It's not. It is leaving. It is going away. You know where it's going? It's going to someone else who's investing. Okay, so the money is floating off into the stratosphere. There will always be money flowing in and out of our lives. But what we need to know is our investing style, our preferences, and what we're comfortable with. We may finally get to the wills and legacy pillar, right? From saving, money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills and legacy, and say, I don't have a will. I'm over 18 and I don't have a will. I could go off on a whole rant about this anyways, because I feel like if we care about the people that we love, we want to protect them in so many ways. This is like the simplest and easiest way to do that. It's just, if you're over 18, get a will. Because if you don't have a will, your family will have to go to the government and say, hi, I'm their family. And the government's like, prove it with probate. So probate means, it's like a Latin derivative. It means like prove it, essentially. And you have to prove that you are their family and that you have blah, 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 blah. And it can take months to years to unravel, versus having like a piece of paper so your family doesn't have to go through all that. Get a will. Anyways, that's my rant about wills. For now, next time I will have a much bigger, longer, and more like aggravated rant about wills, because I always do. It's just a thing. But for now, I'm ranting about crypto and NFTs. So, before you invest in crypto and NFTs, there are a few things that you should know about yourself. These include, am I a saver or am I a spender? Right? You will know this very quickly and instantly. Are you more of a saver or a spender? Do you enjoy buying things, or do you enjoy keeping money in the bank? Now, there can be two extremes on savers and spenders, right? Which can be spenders who are like, overspenders, or like emotional spenders, and they will just spend like really for other reasons other than they enjoy spending. The opposite of that is extreme hoarder savers, who are hoarding their money because of the fact that they feel there's some insecurity there, and they need to keep as much money as possible to keep them safe. Now, both of these styles, we just need to know roughly where we're at. We may not be the extreme saver or spender, but we need to know roughly which one is more of our style, because it will give us a little bit of an indication of our personality, what we're like, and we need to know that before we go crazy investing in other stuff. Okay, we just need to know more about ourselves. Self-awareness and confidence is what we need before we start investing in other really risky, unknown, unstable areas. So we need to know what our personality is in terms of savers or spenders. We need to do a risk profiling questionnaire. People, if you haven't done a risk profiling questionnaire, just go to your bank. Say, can I do a risk profiling questionnaire? They'll be like, sure, come in on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. And you just go in, you spend like an hour. Half of that time is, I don't know what you're doing. You're just like sitting there waiting for them to like log into the computer for some reason. And you just do the risk profiling questionnaire. You can do it at the bank, you can do it at home, you can ask them to send it to you. You just do the risk profiling questionnaire. And if you've never done one before, it's the most useful to do at the bank, because they will tell you this is what it means. Essentially, you'll either be very like high risk comfortable or low risk comfortable. And you can see that this is mirrored in the saver and spender type thing. So oftentimes a lot of spenders will have a similar kind of risk tolerance. Like, I'm tolerant to maybe getting lots of money back, but maybe risking losing a lot of money. And a lot of savers might have a lower risk profile, which may be like, oh, I'd rather take less risk, but still get returns, but just, play it safe. So I won't get as high returns, but I won't risk losing as much. So, really, Theo? Thank you so much. Theo says he hasn't heard once, which is, I don't, yeah, I think I have had a few but thank you, Theo. That's very kind. Nice to see you. I am real. I am a real person. Sorry. Anyways, so what we need to know, okay, before we start investing in crypto and NFTs is our personality style with money, okay? So our personality style in person is like, I like coffee, I like cake, I like sitting around watching Netflix. Like I will binge watch the whole of like the book of Boba Fett, right? I know these things about my personality. Okay, but what is my money personality? What is your money personality? You should be able to list these as quickly. Like, I am a spender type who used to be quite a big overspender, but now I channeled that into investing very heavily, but risk high investments, as well as playing it safe and very, very, very boring play it safe type of investments. So I will know my investing style. And I like to invest as much as possible, but I also like to have a budget. That means that I can spend things that I like too. And I practice a lot of selective spending, which means that I'm not going to actually buy coffees anymore, because I realized I was spending a lot at Starbucks, more on the cakes than the coffees. And I don't actually really like coffee. And as you can tell, I really don't need to drink coffee. And I actually don't drink coffee. I'm just a slightly hyperactive person in that way. Not always. I'm an introvert. But just when I'm talking, I'm kind of like, blah, blah, blah. So the point is that between these things, right, knowing my risk profiling questionnaire, knowing that I am more of a spender than a saver, I counterbalance that by making sure that I am having investments that are in areas that both complement my high risk tolerance type of my spender type, and also counterbalance my risk taking with a proportionate amount of very boring, stodgy, saver type stocks that are low risk and less return, but just counterbalance. So I make myself a little sandwich that is taking into account my personality, right? And then I'm a selective spender as well. So that means that I will choose to spend on things that mean more to me. So I will actually cut out on things that mean less, but may be less expensive too. So for example, the coffee, I just realized I really don't need to be buying stuff from Starbucks at all. And I buy really expensive stickers, but I don't necessarily buy them instead. of the coffee and somehow rationalize that. I just know that the coffees, selective spending wise, don't make sense to me. And I realized that the sneakers, price per wear, I wear those sneakers every day. Price per wear, they will work out to be better value and have worked out to be better value than shoes that I have bought that were much cheaper and I've worn once. So the cost per wear value of something is if you wear something 100 times and it was $100, that was $1 per wear. If you buy something, then you wear it one time and that was $100, that was $100 for that thing. So the thing that was $100 and worn 100 times, the value is way better. It's like cost per wear is one. So that is the item you want to be going for, not just for the fact that, you know, you use it a lot more, but the value is much better as well. Or the reverse of that, right? so so Theo has just said that he thinks that crypto and ledger gambling fall into the same category. And that is really worth knowing about because we have to decide what our view is on this area. Okay, so before you invest in crypto and NFTs, know yourself, know your style. You should be able to look at your personality, list off a few things about your personality, like the fact that I love cake, chocolate. I will watch the whole book of Boba Fett. I'm a geek. I like all the Marvel universe, like those types of things. I'm a really lazy dresser. I have like 10 of the same type of this shirt in my wardrobe and 10 of everything else in the same thing. So those things that you can list off so quickly about yourself, you should be able to list your money personality traits the same. If you can't do that, then give it a think. Like maybe you've just never thought about it, right? Maybe you just don't know, but maybe you've never written it down. Maybe you've just never thought about it. So are you more of a saver or a spender? What is your risk profile? What kind of areas are you comfortable considering investing in? What type of areas do you currently invest in? Are you happy with those? So list out things about yourself that you are very comfortable knowing about yourself. If you don't know anything about yourself in this area and you can't really list, then we have a bunch of free samplers in these areas of money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills, and legacy. You can pop on over to moneymind.global and have a look at the free samplers and you can try them and they will ask you the questions and just walk you through. They're 10 minutes each. So in 10 minutes, you just like sit down with your coffee and just like plow through answering the questions that are in these little free samplers over at moneymind.global. That's www.moneymind.global. And those free samplers will tell you, well, you will tell you by answering the questions in the free samplers. They'll ask you 3 questions and you'll be able to answer them and you'll get a little bit of an insight on where you are currently at with that area of your money. So, you know, do you have a risk profiling questionnaire? What is your savings style? You know, are you more of a saver or spender? These types of things are in there in those free samplers that are at moneymind.global. So that's www.moneymind.global because moneymind.com was taken. So anyhow, a lot of people think that crypto and NFT is really akin to gambling, and that is okay. That is a good opinion to have if that is an opinion that fits you. A lot of other people think, I need to get on this. This is the biggest thing ever. It's going to make me rich. That is a very precarious opinion to have because if we think something is going to make us rich really fast, that is always a Dogecoin opinion to have. Yes, that was a terrible plan, but I'm happy with it, okay? Because I love using the word Dogecoin for anything dodgy. But the point is, what we need to know is what we're comfortable with and how we feel about certain areas. So, for example, if we are very like wary of crypto and NFTs and things, then what we might want to do is educate ourselves more about them and really decide like, this is not the area for me, or actually it might be kind of interesting to consider when it stabilizes, or I want to see what regulation happens first, or whatever your opinions are. But to gather information and say, this is my judgment based on this information that I have, not just based on everyone freaking out or this or that. We may have already done that, and that's excellent because that's what we need to do before we start investing in really high risk areas like crypto or NFTs, just because we feel like we're missing out on stuff. So if it is a new area that may have a long-term future, there are ETFs that cover blockchain. There are ETFs that cover the metaverse. There are ETFs that cover, okay, they're like really crazy expensive and only Canadian based right now, but there's like Ether and Bitcoin. Like there's all these different ways to look into and watch what things are doing if we are interested in that area. But what we want to make sure of is before we invest in crypto or NFTs, we know our own money style and personality. Am I comfortable with that level of risk? Is it an area that maybe I don't want to miss out on, but I'm really nervous about? In which case, I could start educating myself in areas that are more calm, right? Less like Instagram crazy and more like find out what thebalance.com says about crypto and NFTs. Find out what Get Rich Slowly says about NFTs and crypto. Find out what other people like Zen Habits. I don't know about Zen Habits so much because I think I'm not sure he even has a mobile phone, so I'm not sure he'll be into this area. But some people will have long-term, very stable growth hedging kind of opinions about this area that are not as panic driven, that are more data driven. So if you're worried about this area or unsure about it, but you think, oh, I might be missing out, then you might want to start looking for information bases that are more data driven information bases or people that are more data driven. So say, for example, Warren Buffett, he's a data driven investor. And that is very successful for him and that is great, but you won't hear him like shouting out and having like, oh my God, everybody buy this stock. Like Warren Buffett doesn't do that because he focuses on the data, potato, patata. So if you are interested in the NFT and crypto area, but not quite sure yet, educating yourself in a way that is comfortable to you could be a step to take. It just could be, right? It's up to us to decide what our own style is and what fits us and our personal preference. That's only if we feel like this is an area that we feel a little bit like we're missing out or we might miss out in, or we're kind of interested in, but a little bit scared. Then we can educate ourselves in this area. If we're a definite, no, I don't want to be in this area, then already you know. You will not love being in this area if you don't want to be in this area. So it's always good to keep in mind what our style is. If we go to our financial advisor and our financial advisor says, as a diversification method, we'll have like a tiny risk slither that will be in this area because of its progress, then perhaps that is something that if the rest of our portfolio is really weighted heavily in very, very stable investments, and that is something that we can consider taking a tiny risk on because it's such a small percentage, then perhaps if our financial advisor were to recommend something like that to us, that may be something to consider and a way to consider going into that area. Right? Obviously, if your financial advisor knows you're entirely like stable weighted portfolio person and they start advising that you go heavy on a really uncomfortable area, you need a new financial advisor because that's not going to work for you and you will regret whatever decisions they force you to make, because whenever we are forced to make decisions that are not comfortably our own, we can regret them really badly. And the biggest regrets in our life are either really stupid things we did or things that other people kind of like pushed us to do and we did, or things that we did for the reasons that we weren't entirely comfortable with. So what I'm saying with this and why it's relevant to investing in crypto and NFTs is if we're going to make mistakes in an area, we want to be comfortable with having made those mistakes of our own choice. And that's what's really important, is that we want that autonomy to be able to say, I have made this choice. Oh, it went badly, but I have learned something, or I'm comfortable that I made that choice entirely and that bad choice was mine and I would do it again, or I wouldn't do it again, but at least I know that about myself. So self-awareness, knowing about your own personality styles and traits, and being aware of what you want for moving forward in this area are really important before you start going into crypto and NFTs. What I really worry about is people who really want to FOMO and they have, well, they don't want to FOMO, they just totally FOMO, and they don't have any other stability. So they don't have their savings of 3 to 6 months emergency fund in place. They don't have a regular savings habit of some percentage of their salary in place. They don't have their other investments in place in a way, in a portfolio that works for them, their goals and their style and their personality. They don't have a will in place either. So they really have like nothing of the like key points in place. They don't do a budget or track their expenses because I don't make enough, or I make too much, or I don't need to, or some other excuse. You need to know where your money is going, man. Otherwise, you will put it into that investment and it will go somewhere else. Like the rest of your life, how you behave around money in the rest of your life is how you will behave around money in every other area of your life. You see what I mean? If I am a bit of an extreme personality and I will eat all the cookies and all the cake and have the high risk tolerance and invest in all the things, I need to know that and be cool with it. Maybe exercise to counterbalance. Maybe invest in some really boring stuff to counterbalance. But I need to know what I am like and accept that I am like this. Even if I want to be more responsible and more tempered and less extreme, I'm an extreme person, man. It's just how I am. I can take the great parts of that, use them to my advantage, and I can look at the parts that are less advantageous to the direction that I want to go. Okay, none of these are weaknesses. They are just leading in a different direction to the direction that I want to go. So we don't have weaknesses. We just have areas of our personality or our life or our traits or our habits that lead us that way instead of this way. And so we'll say, oh, that's a weakness because it's always leading me that way. The fact is that it's just leading in a different direction. It's not a weakness. It's simply not advantageous to the goal. So accepting that and saying, hey, this part that is less advantageous to that goal, how can I counterbalance that so that I'm not just fighting against it in a polar way all the time? I'm accepting how it is. And I'm saying, okay, I'm extreme this way. And I'm doing a lot in that area. So these areas, how can I also counterbalance that and do a lot in that area as well? If I'm investing very heavily in risky stocks, how can I counterbalance and also invest in very stable stocks, right? And I want to accept both sides of myself, my strengths and my less advantageous areas. And I want to balance so that I am strong all around the board. So this is a very strong tied thing because it is balanced on both sides instead of just weighted in the area that I consider my strengths or that I naturally do most easily. So in crypto, NFTs, and investing in this area, what we want to know about ourselves is our self-awareness, our investing style, our risk tolerance, and we need to have done a risk profiling questionnaire and hopefully some investments already in other areas before we start investing in really high risk areas. So if we're really new to this and we just want to dive into investing into crypto and NFTs, that's fine. And that's our personal preference. Make sure that you go through the Money Mind 5 pillars, the free samplers, and just check that you have those in place and then be comfortable making your decision. Because if you have your money mindsets and you do the free samplers in these, okay? So you have these free samplers, say they're 10 minutes each. You just do 10 minutes a day for like a week while you're having your coffee. You do 10 minutes, money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills and legacy. You're like, yeah, sure. I'm comfortable with myself in all of those areas. Those questions, they're fine. I'm going to go invest in some crazy NFTs. Absolutely. This is our life. It's our personal preference. It is whatever we choose to do. It is always worth taking a financial advice on any financial decisions that we make. However, that will always boil down to us, our autonomy making that decision and our preference and our legal, like, I'm sort of missing the words right now. but we are legally liable for the decisions that we make, right? And that means that we need to make the decisions that we are going to make for our investments as well, for our personal life, for our money life, and for our crypto NFT risk area life. So for someone like me, I might say, okay, I have these investments that are secure, and then maybe I want to allocate this portion towards NFTs. So it doesn't affect any of the stability of the rest of my portfolio, but is something that I'm sort of dabbling in just to see how it goes, as well as maybe building in some kind of levels of investment in the general arena of blockchain, meta, or cryptocurrency as a whole. But that is what I may be comfortable doing. And what we want you to do is feel comfortable with what you would be comfortable doing. Confidence, comfortable, that's what we want you to feel about what your position is before you invest in crypto and NFTs. Okay, so that is my broadcast for today. Anyone's comments that they would like to leave, welcome them. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much, Theo, for commenting here. It's been really fun to see you. I am Real and I am Raven. I'm the founder of financial literacy, social enterprise Money Mind. You can go over to www.moneymind.global to try any of those free samplers to check your money status. Okay, they're free, 10 minutes each. Money mindsets, savings, budgeting, investing, wills and legacy, just to give you an insight on where you're at in these areas so that you can say, okay, I know myself. I am in a position to be able to make my own choices about investing in crypto and NFTs. What you want to do is make the decisions that are right for you, your stability, your future, your family, and yourself. That's all for me today. Thank you so much for joining. Follow us here on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. Our Instagram is at moneymind.global. And we look forward to seeing you a lot more over the weeks and months ahead in our mission of financial literacy for all. See you next time, everyone. I'm Raven. Bye.